As we enter this Shabbat of Parashat Kitavo, we are in search of our place, a halo, special place to which each of us will eventually find his, her, their way to return. As we enter this Shabbat of Parashat Kitavo, we think of our blessings. We think of what defines us. We think of our journeys. We think of what's humbling to us, about us. And with pride, with hope, we look at our offerings and we look ahead. I would like to invite you to prepare your Shabbos candles, your Kiddush cup, so we can together welcome Shabbat. We can together celebrate this palace on time that Shabbat is and that we create together as community. We're on page 120 for Adlakat Neirot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
We turn our Siddurim to page 130 as we come to the encounter of the bride with joy. Lechu neranena la'Adonai.
Lechu neranena la'Adonai, nari al-tzur isheno lekadma panav b'torah bizmirot, nari alo lekadma panav
Betoda bismirot nahari alo yambalai lai 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 yara lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 shiru l'Adonai shir hadash shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz shiru l'Adonai baruchu shemo basru miyom leyom yeshuato sabru v'golim kevodo bechol ha'amim nifleotav. Adonai malach tagel haaretz yitzmechuhu ihim rahavim or saru al hatzadik ulishrei lev simcham. As we welcome Shabbat, as we enter into the Shabbos experience, we try to fine-tune our souls. We try to find focus. We try to recognize in this very noisy life of ours the sounds that we want to take in, that will help us celebrate this special time. We're on page 134, Samru l'Adonai.
Zamru l'Adonai bechinor v'kol zimra b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar harihu lifnei hamelech Adonai Yiram hayamu Beber veyosh ve'mar Haydai ve'avot Imcha uchaf ha'af yachad די נהרות עמך וכף
הבטחת הרים ירננו, הבטחת הרים ירננו. Page 136, מזמור לדוד.
מזמור לדוד, הב לאדוני בנהלים. מזמור לדוד, הב לאדוני כבוד בז. מזמור לדוד, הב לאדוני בנהלים. מזמור
לדוד, הב לאדוני כבוד בז. הב לאדוני כבוד בז. הב לאדוני כבוד שמו.
הב לאדוני כבוד בז.
הב לאדוני כבוד שמו. יאי די, יאי די די די, יאי די 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 אדוני יברך את עמו השלום, אדוני יוס לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו השלום. היי די 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 Return our Sidorim to page 138. As we recite, we sing the words of Lecha Dodi. And every time we sing Lecha Dodi, we remind ourselves that Jewish experiences, our way to celebrate, our way to find spirituality is in constant creation. We remind ourselves that many of our prayers were written 2,000 years ago. But this one that stands at the center of our Kabbalat Shabbat, only 500 years ago. And it's true, it wasn't yesterday. It happened, it was written at the time that Jews were trying to find a way to enhance, to energize, to uplift the Shabbat experience. And so every time we sing Lecha Dodi, we are reminded that it is on us to find the ladder, to find the stairway, the steps that will help us elevate our Shabbos, help us find Kedusha, sacredness, the holiness of time. Let's go to the encounter of the bride, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. We're on page 138.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו לתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נזוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שתדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך ניכר. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תיכני, מה תשכחי ומה תהמי. בך יחסו אני אני, ונבנתה עיר העילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי
לקראת קהלה,
בני שבת נקבלה.
לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. We have welcome Shabbat, and so we take a moment to acknowledge each other's presence, to say Shabbat Shalom, to say Good Shabbos. So we invite you to say Good Shabbos on Zoom, and of course, if you are joining us in YouTube, and if you are connecting with us through Facebook. Good Shabbos, Good Shabbos. We also say Good Shabbos to Jordan and Zach, and so to Gabriel and Evan. We now turn our Sidurim to page 140. We grant to Shabbat one more song, one more psalm. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat.
טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני,
ולסבר לשמך עליון טוב לאדוני ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך באמונתך בלילות באמונתך בלילות טוב להודות לאדוני היו להגיד בבוקר חסדך ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך באמונתך בלילות באמונתך בלילות טוב להודות לאדוני היו להגיד בבוקר חסדך אוי להגיד בבוקר חסדך באמונתך בלילות באמונתך בלילות טוב להודות לאדוני. Page 144.
יתקדש מרבה ואלמד יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי הוויה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמית קדושה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמיד בעלמא
אמרו אמן. To rise for Baruch as we acknowledge our minyan. We acknowledge that we find the unity of God through the diversity of our community. As we say that each of us, every time we say Baruch, we look around and we say that each of us count. We say that our diversity and not our uniformity is the foundation for our unity. We are on page 146.
Baruchu et Adonai Yalalai Yailai Yailai Hamevora Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Le'olam ha'ed
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בדברו מרהיב ערבים בחוכמה פותח שערים ובתבונה משנה עתים מחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו וליום בלילה ולאור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Amariv, Arvim. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. Everlasting love you offer your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lay down and when we rise up, help us meditate in the many gifts we have in our lives. Help us recognize the presence of your love in our world. Help us recognize, treasure, embrace those things that make us feel deeply loved. And as we think of love, I invite you to meditate, to try to think of what makes you feel deeply loved. As before reciting the Shema, we recognize that the power of unity, that the magic of unity is carried on love. As you close your eyes, I invite you to think of your breath for a moment, to breathe in and out. Allow your breath to bring in the love that you are recognizing, the love that it is indeed surrounding you. As you exhale, make sure that you let go of the things that don't belong to you. It is forbidden to carry on Shabbos. So let them go. We'll pick them up later. Once again, take a deep breath and become one. לבדך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני. Forevermore Israel. We're on page 152.
Shema,
Israel,
Adonai Eloheinu,
Adonai Echad.
Please join me on page 154 with the chanting of V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'nafshecha ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם נאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, אמת באמונה כל סוד בקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, when your children witness your presence, they praise your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moshe, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices with joy. Who is like you, O God? Who is like you, majestic in holiness? As it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch ata Adonai, Goel Israel. Didi dai dai, dai dai dai, didi dai dai, dai dai dai, didi dai dai, dai 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 dai, didi dai dai, dai dai dai, didi dai dai, dai dai dai, didi dai dai, dai 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 dai, didi dai dai. Die, 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 die. Didi, die, die. Yay, die, 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 die. Didi, die, die. Die, 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 die. Didi, die, die. Yallay, die, die, die. Didi, die, die. Yallay, die, didi, die, die. Die, die, die. Didi, die, die. Die, 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 die. Die, 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 diddy, die, die, yallay, die, diddy, die, die, yallay, die, 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 diddy, die, die, yallay, die, diddy, die, die, yallay, die, diddy, die, die, yallay, die, 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 diddy, die, die, yallay, die, 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 diddy, die, die, yallay, die, die, die. Diddy die die, die 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 die. Diddy die die, yallay die die die. Diddy die die, die die die. Diddy die die, die die die. Diddy die die, die 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 die. Diddy die die, die die die. Diddy die die, die die die. Diddy die die, die 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 die. Last one. Die die, yallay die die die. Diddy die die, yallay die die die. Diddy die die, yallay die die die. Diddy die die, yallay die die die. There's such a big connection between redemption and joy. The joy of breaking through. And finding that joy doesn't mean that we don't have problems, doesn't mean that we are not carrying lots of many other things. But it means that we are working on trying to recognize the different layers of our life experiences. It is such a great opportunity to find joy in Shabbat. And the things that are waiting for you, they will wait for you. But now we open the gates of joy, the gates of celebration. And in this more than complicated world, in Shabbat we also try to open within our hearts the gates of peace. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom. We're on page 116.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ashkivenu Adonai
Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
ofros aleinu.
Shabbat shlomecha v'tagnenu v'etzah tov milefanecha. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
Ofros aleinu Shabbat shlomecha v'tagnenu v'etzah tov milefanecha. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem, your holy city. Baruch ata Adonai, הפורש סוכת שלום, עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים.
Amen.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. It is a covenant between me and the children of Israel. It is a symbol, it is a sign of perseverance, it is a sign of commitment, it is a sign of joy and connection. We turn our Sidurim to page 164 for Tfilat Amidah. We invite you to rise. And when we say rise, we mean on your legs or in your heart. We try to uplift ourselves, to elevate ourselves. As we try to find center, focus, we try to find our Tfilah Shebalev, the prayer of our hearts.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
ולרצון אמרי ועליון ליבי לפניך, אדוני, צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. עושה שלום במרומיו, יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל. באמרו אמן. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, for all Israel. And let us say,
Amen.
We now take a moment to acknowledge those that are dealing with illness. We think of those dealing with illness in their bodies. We think of those dealing with illness in their souls. And so of those that are dealing with addictions. During this pandemic time, we think of those that are recovering from COVID. We think of those that are first responders, those that are sustaining the health of our community, and we pray for their health as well. We turn our theory into page 371 for Misha Berach.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Bless those in need of healing
with refuah shelema,
the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
We wish to all of them, to all of us, רפואה שלמה והחלמה מהירה, a complete and a fast recovery. And let us say,
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's good to see you. It's good to be together with community and in community. So, this week we read Parashat Ki Tavo, which is one of the two tochecha Torah portions. Tochecha means rebuke. But this is not a friendly rebuke. Not even a tough criticism. This rebuke is more of a threat. Arur aish, arur a'am. Cursed be the person, cursed be the people who fall into this or that behavior. Now, the list of wrongdoings and curses, the two of them, are very explicit and quite scary. They are so explicit and uncomfortable that they prompt a discussion in the Talmud regarding how to present these verses, how to publicly read these verses in the Torah. The rabbis explain that one shouldn't say a blessing immediately before or immediately after the words of tochecha, the words of rebuke. They argue that God said, my children are being cursed, and you are saying a blessing? The rabbis couldn't work with these curses as a theological premise. The idea of a cursing God wasn't unheard of, but this was too intense. This was too much for them to internalize, to take in. These mortifying descriptions were tapping into the very vivid post-traumatic memory of the Babylonian and Rome exiles. Furthermore, theologically speaking, the rabbinical narrative had always emphasized teshuvah, the divine gift of returning, or in other words, the human ability to reflect and rectify. And so, in these conversations, the rabbis are modeling a very important skill. In his book, Think Again, Professor Adam Grant calls this skill rethinking. The rabbis are rethinking how to approach a text that is harmful to them. They are rejecting a theological approach that did not work for them. The model of instilling fear in order to promote awareness and to encourage the fulfillment of mitzvot might have worked in the past, but it didn't work for the rabbis, and it doesn't work for most of us today. Therefore, the torsion of the tochecha is never read immediately next to the blessing. It is always wrapped by other pieces of the text. But not just that, it is also read quietly and quickly. It is quite remarkable that our tradition made the decision to reject these contents while not erasing them from our memory. These contents were left there so that every time we read this portion in the Torah, we can practice rethinking. And we can, at the same time, both remark these contents and bluntly de-emphasize them. The memory shall be kept, say the rabbis. And therefore, it is still read. Yet this memory cannot be at the center of our narrative. I'll say this again. This memory, this traumatic experience, this difficulty cannot be at the center of our narrative. Because it doesn't represent who we are today, nor who we want to be, and certainly doesn't bring any good to us. During this very special time of the year, as we think about the book of life, we have the opportunity to rethink verses of our own narrative and portions of our own journeys. Without aiming to erase what is harmful to us, we aspire to recognize its presence in our emotional archive so we can rethink, de-emphasize, and re-emphasize our narratives. As we approach this Rosh Hashanah, may we find the strength to reread and retell our narratives. Thus, we can forge a path toward personal growth. Shabbat Shalom Mevorach, everyone. We will now continue our service on page 586. The way to return starts from within our hearts. Ve'ashevota el levavecha.
אל לבביך
כי אדוני
כי אדוני
הוא האלוהים
הוא האלוהים
השבותה
אל לבביך
כי אדוני
כי אדוני
הוא האלוהים
נאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We now take a moment to acknowledge mourners among our community. We recognize the cycles of time that represent mourning in the tradition of our people. And as we do so, we invite you to share the names of those that you are remembering today. We remember those, or we acknowledge those that are during the time of Shiva, the first 7 days of mourning. And so those who are during the first 30 days of mourning, Shloshim. We invite you to share the names of your beloved ones if you are during the cycle of the first year of mourning. And so, if you have
Joan Guiano, sorry.
your side, the anniversary of someone's passing by this time of the year in year past this week. We're on page 598 for Kaddish Avelim, Mourner's Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
ועלמא יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב אמרו,
אמן.
יהא שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולמאה.
ברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קדושה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו,
אמן.
יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו,
אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו, אמן.
Amen. May the memories of your beloved ones be always a blessing in your life. Yeh Zichram Baruch. Tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? Tomorrow is the Erev, the evening of Slichot. So we encourage you to join us, to participate with us. We will start our streaming we will stream for a couple of minutes at 6 p.m. And then the streaming of Avdalah and all the rest, the Slichot service will start at 7 p.m. So we encourage you to join us. And I want to say once again, the real work of the high holidays is a personal endeavor. It's personal work. We'll try to do our best. We'll try to read inspiring readings. We are using a wonderful machzor, a wonderful prayer with beautiful translations, with beautiful readings. But at the end of the day, the work is yours. So I want to encourage you to start thinking about your teshuvah, your rethinking. What's in your plate? What are the harmful pieces of your path, of your journey, that take most of your narrative? And I invite you to ask yourself, if that's the narrative, that's your story. That might be a part of your story, but what are the other stories? What are the stories that you want to emphasize about yourself, for yourself? When we think of the book of life, we are the writers of our own book of life. And we are those that need to think about how we want to live and tell the story of our lives. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they are the celebration of human opportunity. They are the celebration of our ability to rethink, to solidify, maybe to rectify, to strengthen, to change. So do the work. Think about your journey. Think about yourself, and use the services and use the readings to reflect on what you are working on. And if you do that, I really believe that services help for that. If you are doing your work, when you come to services, then services will help you. But if you start the work, when I say, by this time, whatever, we're thinking about our wrongdoings, and you start asking yourself, did I do something wrong? First with yourself, right? Well, not too late. Good that you're thinking about that whenever you're thinking about that. But it's way more effective if you make your homework. So let's make sure that we do the homework that we need to do through the high holidays. And Slichot, tomorrow night, it's a great way, if you haven't started with your homework, to start getting it done. If you have started, so well, you know, we'll see you in the Slichot for sure. So let's make sure that we do our homework. And of course, tomorrow 9 a.m. Torah study, 10 a.m. We have Shacharit Shel Shabbat, and tomorrow, after a year and a half, our Havaya school is coming back in person with outdoor work, and we'll start Slowly and carefully, but we are starting. I invite you to turn your Siddur to page 122. וירב ויבוקר יום השישי, ויחול השמיים בארץ בכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי הוא שבת מכל מלאכתו, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי וחברותיי, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. What a great time of the year this is. What a great thing is to have the opportunity of being writers of our own stories. What a great message is to know that our lives is ours, and that the many things that we have zero control over them, there are many things in our lives that we can't control. They happen to us. They're a part of our reality. But they don't define who we are. We have the power, we have the ability, we have the strength, we have the wisdom to define who we want to be, to define how we want to tell our stories. We make sure that those stories also have the capacity to acknowledge the many blessings we have in our lives. We say to our children, Yasimchem Elohim, Kesara, Rivka, Rachel, Belea, Kefraim, Bekemenashe. May God inspire you to be like the mothers and the fathers of Israel. Yevarechechem Adonai beish berechem. May God bless you and protect you. Yair Adonai panav elechem bichunechem. May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elechem ve'asem lachem shalom. May God is within you, that you find God's presence within you always. And may God bless you with the strength to tell your story, with integrity, with wholeness. May God bless you and all of us with shalom. Adonai os le'amoitem, Adonai yevarech et amav b'shalom. Shabbat shalom mevorach everyone.
So when we fade to black, we'll come right back. Everybody else watching on YouTube and Facebook, Shabbat Shalom. And I hope we get to see you tomorrow morning for Shabbat. And then also for Slichot in the evening. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.